Okay, so let me get started with my second JSON talk. Now, one of the things that you guys need to sort of understand is Amazon Web Services is predicated upon the existence of JSON. So we couldn't do the third-party cloud thing like Amazon if we didn't have JSON to give you back results. So JSON is kind of the common language of the internet when it comes to the cloud, because the cloud needs to give you back that language, you know, that encoding. And when I bring you back to your S3 demo inside of the cloud, here's what you guys did. You guys wrote a little bit of HTML. You had similar kind of IDs. You had your results div right here. And what's interesting is you made your new AWS3 object, and you did some uploads. You had your upload button, and then you had your results div. And so what you're doing is you kind of uploaded an object to S3, and then the next thing you did is you listed all the objects in that bucket, and the list objects function actually got hold of the bucket that you established earlier. If I can slide up here. And the bucket represents your connection to the S3 cloud. And so what you did is you said, okay, bucket, list all the objects in that bucket. And that calls for a string of JSON to return. And so your list objects call is what caused all the HTML to print to your screen with all the names of the files. So you kind of could confirm that you were successful. Now, what's cool about that is that was your first usage of JSON. And what you guys did is you said, okay, look, if you have some error, tell me what the error says. And go ahead and print the inner HTML of the results with the error. Otherwise, if you're successful, go ahead and create a new JavaScript object and take the contents of the data from list objects and then loop through it using a for each loop. It's like a big for loop. It's a for loop that loops through JSON objects and say, okay, for each line of that result, go ahead and populate the object keys with those results, and then go ahead and print it to inner HTML when you're finished. This snippet of code is gold for you guys, not in that you're going to list objects again, but rather eventually you're going to want to grab JSON back from the cloud, and here's your full test, and you're eventually going to want to encode your JavaScript with those results. So what I'm going to do quickly is I'm going to go back to this project, and I'm going to import. And I'm not going to solve this problem right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to propose more of an architecture to a solution. And I believe this is our 3.11 JSON demo. And let's create a new file of type HTML there. Result getter code. And this is going to be a type HTML. We'll just go through that. It's going to be of type HTML. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this down here, and we're going to kind of improve the formatting. And then we're going to save that as an important example. This formatting is not so great, but bear with me. We kind of appropriated it from the Amazon webpage, so there's a bit of spacing there, but we're going to atone for that in a minute by making it our own. Code is a little bit like music. It's so fluid, it's easy to borrow it from people. What matters is your original composition, what you build up to make it with. but we're going to make this a little more readable. I like dropping my parentheses down when I do an else. And I also like doing a little bit of indentation when I work with jQuery. But that helps us to isolate the real solution code that we need to be interested in. Now this isn't going to work as is, but what I want to leave people with is a little bit of an example of how to take your data back from your toolkit and say, okay, let's update this, or let's get this. Get this is important. And when you do get this, you're going to grab a result. You guys were just working with this very recently. And what you're going to do is you're going to get the result of this get call. So you're actually going to call a get, and then you're going to get the data. The data is the gold. The data is the nice stuff. And if you have an error, go ahead and print it to the console. Right now, you're just printing the data to the console. And what's interesting is you drill down into your results, you'll see a big old object sitting right there, a big object, and then all the keys of that will be sitting right there. So what we need to do in the next week or so is to utilize this example to, and you notice there's data that's coming back there. All of Amazon's JavaScript works the same way. So it's always going to send a JSON object back to you. So you're going to use this bit of code right here to unpack your JSON package from Amazon and then get it ready to place it inside of your markup. Right now your results are inside of the console, and what we want to do is we want to take it out of the console, move it back into the DOM, move it back into the HTML. So that's what we're going to be working on in the next few videos. So I just want to get you ready. I'm afraid I'm on an airbook which is always running out of space. I need to do a spring cleaning, so I'm not able to log big, long movies. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with that a little bit, and I'm going to update you with the progress of that. But I want you to be trying out that solution in your homework where you're going to unpack using for each. So you're going to grab the data, right? Let me just... So you're going to have some data that's going to come back in your toolkit, and you're going to go ahead and take apart that data here the same way you would right here. And I'll be updating you on the specifics of this, but this is basically how it's going to work. Where firstly, you're going to create an object, you're going to get the contents of that data, and for each of the items there, you're going to break it apart. And you're going to do it in the same way that you did right here. You see, you began the day practicing with the very tool set that you're going to use later. So the same thing happens here that you're eventually going to use to solve this problem. I'm having some projection issues right here. So this is going to be like the data that comes back from Amazon. This is what Amazon's data looks like. So if you were to do a list objects for your S3, or if you were to do a get, your results are going to look the same way here as they do when you get it down from Amazon. There we go. Sorry to be moving around this way, but so you're going to use this exact same technique to grab the contents of your JSON package and move it back into the inner HTML of that div or that paragraph. And then that's all she wrote. You'll be ready to do web dev for the rest of your life. This is the only thing you need to figure out at this point. So for the next week, we're going to be working on that so that everybody has a very good set of examples of how to do that. So I invite you to be hacking with that at your desk, and we're going to be updating you on the progress of that so that you can take that into your project. Okay? All right. Remember to subscribe.